What happened to the black sheep of your family? In our case, it was my younger brother, Nathan. Growing up, he was always different, too smart for his own good, too restless to follow rules. While I was the good son who played by the book, Nathan questioned everything, which put him at constant odds with our strict father. By 16, Nathan was skipping school, staying out all night, and coming home with bloodshot eyes and that disconnected smile. Mom would cry. Dad would yell. The pattern repeated until the night Dad found pills in Nathan's jacket and threw him against the wall. "You're destroying this family," Dad shouted. Nathan just laughed. That hollow laugh. That wasn't really a laugh at all. What family? We're just people who happen to live in the same house. The next morning, he was gone. A hastily scribbled note on the kitchen counter. Don't look for me. For 2 years, we heard nothing. Mom would jump whenever the phone rang, hoping it was him. Dad pretended not to care, but I'd catch him staring at Nathan's empty chair at dinner. I tried tracking him through mutual friends, but the trail always went cold. Then came the call at 3 a.m. I fumbled for my phone, heart racing when I saw unknown number. "Hello," I answered, voice thick with sleep. "It's me." His voice was different, harder, exhausted. "Hey, where are you? Everyone's been. I need help." He cut me off. "I'm in trouble. Real trouble." He gave me an address, a motel on the outskirts of town. I didn't wake my parents. This felt like something between brothers. The motel was exactly what you'd expect. Peeling paint, flickering neon. The works. Room 118. I knocked softly. When he opened the door, I barely recognized him. Gaunt face, hollow eyes, a jagged scar. Running along his jawline, the room behind him reek of cigarettes and something chemical I couldn't identify. "You came alone?" he asked, peering past me into the darkness. "Of course. What's going on?" He pulled me inside, checking the parking lot before locking the door. "I got mixed up with some people. Bad people. They think I stole from them. Did you?" A flicker of the old Nathan. That crooked smile. "Not exactly, but they won't believe me." And now they're looking. On the bed lay a duffel bag half packed with clothes and what looked like bundles of cash. My stomach dropped. "Nathan, whatever this is, I need to disappear," he interrupted. "For real this time. I need money for a new ID. Transportation out of state." I stared at my brother. This stranger wearing my brother's face. "Come home," I said. "Dad's changed. We can figure this out together." He laughed that hollow laugh again. "You don't get it. These people don't just break your legs, they erase you. And anyone connected to you." That's when I noticed the gun tucked into his waistband. "Nathan, I never wanted this," he whispered, suddenly looking like the kid I grew up with. Just wanted something else, something different. I gave him all the cash I had, nearly $900. He hugged me tightly, something he hadn't done since we were kids. "Tell Mom I'm sorry," he said. "Tell Dad. Tell him whatever you want." What happened to the black sheep of my family? In our case, it was my younger brother, Nathan. Growing up, Nathan was always different. Too smart for his own good, too restless to stay in one place, too defiant to follow anyone's rules. I was the good son, the one who studied hard, followed curfews, and never questioned Dad's word. Nathan was the opposite. He challenged everything, every rule, every expectation. It was like watching a wildfire trying to live in a house made of glass by 16. Nathan was skipping school more often than he attended. He'd disappear for nights at a time, come home with bloodshot eyes and that eerie, disconnected smile. Mom would cry quietly in the kitchen, wringing her hands raw. Dad would scream, his voice echoing through the walls. And Nathan, he'd just laugh. That laugh that didn't sound like laughter at all. It all came to a head the night Dad found pills in Nathan's jacket. He slammed Nathan against the wall so hard the picture frames rattled. "You're destroying this family," Dad shouted. Nathan just stared at him with that dead-eyed calm and whispered, "What family? We're just people who happen to live in the same house." The next morning, he was gone. A single note on the kitchen counter in his messy scrawl. "Don't look for me." For 2 years, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no sightings. Mom would jump at every unknown number, hoping it was him. Dad, he buried himself in work, pretended he didn't care. But I'd catch him staring at Nathan's empty chair at the dinner table like it was a ghost only he could see. I tried everything, calling his old friends, checking social media, even driving through neighborhoods I'd heard rumors about. But Nathan was a shadow, always just out of reach. Then came the call. 3:07 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. "Hello," I croaked. "It's me, Nathan." His voice was raw, hollow. "Nathan, oh my God, where are you?" I need help." He cut me off. His tone was sharp, urgent. "Real help. No cops. No mom and dad." He rattled off an address, a rundown motel on the outskirts of town, room 118. I didn't tell my parents. This felt private, like something only brothers could handle. When I got there, the place looked exactly how you'd imagine a single neon sign, buzzing like a dying wasp. Paint peeling off the walls and shadows lingering in the corners. I knocked lightly. "Nathan?" Opened the door, and my heart stuttered. He was unrecognizable. His once boyish face was gaunt, his cheeks hollow, and a jagged scar ran down his jaw. His eyes looked older than Dad's. "You came alone?" he asked, peering past me. "Of course," I said. "What's going on?" He yanked me inside, bolted the door, then pulled the curtains tight. The room smelled like cigarettes, sweat, and something chemical I couldn't place. "I got mixed up with some people," he said finally. "Bad people. They think I stole from them. Did you?" I asked before I could stop myself. A flicker of that old Nathan grin. Crooked, sharp. "Not exactly, but they don't care." On the bed sat a duffel bag, half open. Inside were clothes, a fake-looking ID, and my stomach-flipped bundles of cash. "Nathan?" He ran a hand through his matted hair. "I need to disappear, for real this time. But I need money for the last stretch new papers, transport out of state. I've got most of it, but come home," I said. My voice cracked. "Dad's changed. He asks about you." "Mom still?" He laughed. That same hollow, broken laugh. "You don't get it. These people don't just break your legs, they erase you, and anyone connected to you." That's when I noticed the gun tucked into his waistband. For the first time, he looked small, vulnerable, like the kid I used to share bunk beds with. "I never wanted this," he whispered. "I just wanted out. Out of this town. Out of that house." I thought I was smarter than everyone else. I handed him everything I had. $900 in crumpled bills. He took it slowly, his hand shaking. Then he hugged me. Tight, the kind of hug we hadn't shared since we were kids, hiding from Dad's yelling. "Tell Mom I'm sorry," he murmured. "Tell Dad, tell him whatever you want." I felt him pull away. He looked me dead in the eyes. "You won't see me again." He was right. The next morning, room 118 was empty. Bed stripped, curtains open, no sign he'd ever been there. That was 3 years ago. Sometimes Mom still asks if I've heard anything. Dad doesn't. He just stares at Nathan's chair, silent, and me. I keep my phone charged every night, just in case it rings again, because I don't know if Nathan made it out alive or if he's still out there. Running story 2. I paid $19,400 for my grandparents' anniversary cruise. A gift they waited 38 years for. 2 days before boarding, my mom said they wouldn't even appreciate it. We're going instead. My sister added, they can watch our stories instead. I just smiled. What they never knew. The cruise director was my friend. I made a call 0.3 minutes later. Every name was off the list. By morning, my mom got an envelope. My grandma's handwriting. The papers have changed. I'd been saving for nearly 3 years. Tips for my bartending job. Extra shifts during the holidays. Cash envelopes I never touched. All for this. A surprise cruise for my grandparents' 38th anniversary. 10 nights. Mediterranean route. Balcony suite. The kind of thing they always talked about but never could afford. The kind of thing they deserved. I booked everything under their names. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. Even arranged a surprise welcome package with champagne and old love songs. I didn't tell them right away. I wanted the reveal to feel like a movie moment. I imagined Grandma's hand going to her mouth, Grandpa blinking in disbelief. That dream kept me going through months of double shifts. Instead, 2 days before the cruise, I walked into the kitchen to find my mom sipping her coffee like nothing had happened. We're going instead, she said, just like that. She didn't ask, she didn't explain. She just said it. I blinked. What? She stirred her coffee. Your grandparents wouldn't even appreciate it. Mom's motion sick on command, and Dad's too old for excursions. Honestly, it would be wasted on them. Wasted, as if kindness had an expiration date. As if gratitude only counted if it came with selfies. My sister chimed in from the hallway, her phone already recording. They can watch our stories instead. She laughed. I mean, they'll feel included. I didn't laugh. I didn't speak. I just smiled. Because they had no idea what they never knew. The cruise director was my college roommate. We used to pull pranks on professors and rig karaoke night votes. Now, he managed the guest list on one of the most luxurious liners in the world. And he owed me a favor, so I made a call. 3 minutes later, every name on the Thompson booking except 2 disappeared from the manifest. And 2 hours after that, Grandma was sitting in my living room holding an envelope with gold trim. She opened it slowly. Read every word twice. Her eyes welled up. This is for us. I nodded. She looked at Grandpa. He just whispered. I thought you forgot. I hadn't, but someone else had forgotten something else. The next morning, an envelope was waiting on the kitchen counter. My mom opened it while spreading jam on toast. It was my grandma's handwriting. One line. The papers have changed. Her face drained. She looked at me. I just sipped my coffee and smiled. My grandparents raised me more than my parents ever did. When I was a kid and Mom was off chasing careers or boyfriends, depending on the year. Grandma taught me how to braid bread and balance a checkbook. Grandpa taught me how to change oil and how to stay calm when people treat you like you don't matter. You don't have to shout to be heard, he'd say. You just have to be right and patient. But my mom never liked that they were part of my life more than she was. She'd make comments how Grandma babied me, how Grandpa filled my head with nonsense. But when the mortgage got tight, she called them. And when my sister needed her first car, Grandpa was the one who co-signed. They never said no. Maybe that's what made them invisible to her. People don't see the ones who never asked for credit. 3 months before the cruise, Grandma had a health scare. Nothing life-threatening, but enough to remind her that someday wasn't promised. That's when I moved from dreaming to planning. I found a Mediterranean route that hit all the places they used to circle in brochures but never visit. Barcelona, Naples, Santorini. I maxed out my time off. I even pushed back grad school. My mom didn't know the full cost, of course. Neither did my sister. They just saw photos later. The ocean views, the itinerary, the special jazz night I arranged, with my friend on board. They started joking about it, like it was their cruise. "You should have just let us go," Mom said after the envelope. "We would have had more fun, and your grandma would have loved to see our pictures." I didn't respond. She tried again later. "You really think she's up for that much walking? And your grandpa's knees? Don't blame me when they get stuck in Athens." But I knew better. I'd already arranged wheelchair assistance. I even scheduled a surprise vow renewal on board officiated by the cruise director himself. It wasn't just a trip. It was a thank you letter in motion. Then came the message. The night before departure, Mom texted me at 11:42 p.m. "Mom, just so you know, they're not going. It's final. You can stop being dramatic." I didn't reply because at that very moment, Grandma was in my guest room folding a new blouse she bought. For Santorini, Grandpa was going over the list of ports like it was the map to El Dorado. They were already halfway there in their minds. That's when it hit me. My mother wasn't just trying to hijack a cruise. She was trying to erase the part of me that chose someone else, someone kinder, someone worth celebrating. The morning of the cruise, the sky over Barcelona was the color of a promise. I stood beside my grandparents at the port, watching as they gawked at the ship like kids outside a candy store. My grandpa pulled out his phone, an old flip model taped in 2 places, and tried to take a selfie. He cut off half his face, but I didn't correct him. I just laughed and took one of all 3. "Of us," he whispered. "You sure this is all for us?" I nodded every last bit. We started toward the check-in queue. I watched the line move slowly. People dragging suitcases. Children half asleep on parents' shoulders. The air smelled like seawater and sunscreen. That's when I saw them. My mother. My sister wheeling their luggage like they belonged there. Like it had always been their trip. My sister wore a floppy hat and heels for a cruise. Mom had sunglasses perched on her head and was loudly telling someone on the phone, "We got upgraded. Balcony suite." Yep, she did all the work, but we're reaping the benefits. She hadn't seen me yet, neither had Grandma, who was too focused on organizing the boarding passes I printed the night before. But I saw everything, and I felt calm because I'd already made the call. 2 days earlier, I'd phoned Marco, my friend, and the cruise director, and explained everything. The manipulation, the entitlement, the betrayal. I asked one simple thing. Make sure their names don't make it past the manifest. He didn't even hesitate. "I'll take care of it," he said. Now standing there watching them roll up to the VIP counter like royalty. I almost felt sorry until my sister turned and saw me. Her face froze. Then she smiled. That slow, smug smile that made me feel 8 years old again. The same one she wore when she told my entire 5th grade class I still slept with a nightlight. That I was adopted. That I would never be the important one. She waved. "Look who finally made it," she said, dragging her words like claws. My mother stepped forward, lips already pursed. Voice full of theater. "Sweetheart, we thought we'd check in early. Hope you don't mind," I said. "Nothing. Not yet." They handed their passports to the clerk. He scanned them, then paused, typed something, scanned again. He looked up. "I'm sorry, ma'am. There's no reservation under your names." My mother's face twisted. "What do you mean? This cruise was arranged by my child." "That's my daughter over there," she added, pointing dramatically toward me. The clerk kept his composure. "I'm sorry. These names are not on the guest list. I'll need to ask you to step aside." My sister huffed. "You've got to be kidding me." Grandpa, now realizing what was happening, took a step closer to me. "Should I?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. "This is part of the gift." My mom stormed over. "You did this. I know you did this." Her voice wasn't loud. "Not yet. but the edge was sharp enough to draw blood. "You think this makes you better than us?" she hissed. I stayed quiet. "You can't just cut us out like that," she added, her hands shaking. "We're your family." Finally, I spoke. "No, you're a habit I broke." She flinched. My sister tried to laugh it off. "Fine, you want to be petty. Be petty, but don't expect us to. Forgive you when Grandma ends up in the ER with heat stroke, or Grandpa forgets where he is halfway through the trip." Grandma, who had been silent this whole time, turned slowly toward them. Her voice was soft, but each word landed like a strike. "You didn't want us to go because you didn't think we were fun enough, not strong enough, not worthy. So tell me, how long have we been not enough for you?" Silence. Even the seagulls seemed to pause. She pulled something from her purse. A letter, faded, torn at the edge. "I wrote this to you, Maria," she said, handing it to my mom. 8 years ago, when you moved out. I said, "I'll always be proud of you, but please don't forget where you came from." Mom's hands trembled as she held it. "You forgot," Grandma said, "but that's okay, because now we remember who we are." The boarding call rang out overhead. I turned to the clerk. "We're ready." As we walked forward, I looked back one last time. My mom was still holding the letter. My sister was staring at the ship, and the clerk, God bless him, was politely directing them to the exit. On board, everything felt surreal, like we'd slipped into a parallel world. One where care was genuine and presence wasn't an obligation. My grandparents stood on the balcony of their cabin, staring out at the open sea. The wind tugged at Grandma's hair, and she laughed. Not a polite laugh, but a full-bodied, eyes sparkling kind of joy I hadn't heard in years. "This is better than I imagined," she said, her voice light as the breeze. I nodded, but my shoulders held tension. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Another voicemail. I didn't listen. There were already 4. The first was my mom yelling, "How could you do this to us?" The second, my sister whining about being humiliated. The third, silence, followed by a deep sigh. The fourth, I didn't care anymore. Instead, I turned the phone off completely. 7 days of silence. We had breakfast on the deck, joined salsa classes on the lower deck. Grandpa made friends with the ship's musicians, sharing stories from his Navy days. Grandma found a woman from MAGA, and they did sunrise yoga together. I hadn't seen them this alive in a decade. That first night after they went to bed, I stepped out onto the deck alone. The ocean was a black sheet under the stars, peaceful, honest, nothing like home. Home was always layered with noise, tension, and quiet debts unpaid. I thought about how long I tried to earn approval from people who only saw me as a wallet, a lifeline, a convenient option. But this cruise, this wasn't revenge. It was release. On the 3rd day, Grandma handed me a small envelope. I meant to say this in person, but I think it's better this way. Inside was a photograph, an old one, edges worn. I must have been 7. Holding a cookie jar, standing awkwardly while my mom and sister laughed in the background. I was smiling, but my eyes looked lost, like I already knew my place in that dynamic. On the back, she'd written, "I saw it even back then. You were the only one who looked around and truly noticed. Don't let them erase that part of you." I didn't cry. I just held the photo for a long time. Let it settle into my hands like a quiet truth. At night, we sat together on the deck, saying nothing, wrapped in blankets, listening to waves. But it was the kind of silence that felt full, the kind that didn't need fixing. Love doesn't always speak. Sometimes it just stays. On the 5th evening of the cruise, just before dinner, the concierge knocked on our suite door. "For Mr. and Mrs. Martinez," he said, holding a thick envelope sealed with golden wax. "Delivered this morning. Priority." I frowned. "We didn't order anything." He smiled politely. It's not from the ship. It was flown to the next port overnight. Someone wanted to make sure it reached you mid-cruise. Grandpa took the envelope slowly, inspecting the seal. It bore a family crest none of us recognized. Inside, carefully folded, were two items, a letter and a single-page legal document. Grandpa handed me the letter. If you're reading this, it means you finally got what you deserved, a moment of peace. I hope it was worth the wait. The handwriting wasn't familiar, not at first, but then I noticed the ink color, the sharp angles, the way the RS looped twice. It was from my uncle, my mom's older brother, arranged, disowned, forgotten. Years ago, he'd been erased from every photo, every story. My mom only referred to him in one word: traitor. He had left the family after a major argument over money. Something about Grandma's inheritance, how it was mishandled, hidden, redistributed. I read on. You always reminded me of myself. Quiet, observant, left out. That's not a curse. It's the clearest view. I promised myself that one day, if I could, I'd return what was taken from your grandparents and from me. Check the last page. Don't tell your mother yet. Let her feel the storm she created. My hands trembled slightly as I turned to the legal document. It was a transfer of ownership, a small seaside home in Morca, fully paid in the names of my grandparents. I stared. Added in disbelief. My grandpa leaned forward, adjusted his glasses, and his jaw dropped. This was the house your grandma always dreamed about, he whispered. The cruise was meant to be their first real vacation. But now, suddenly, they had something bigger. A future, a home, a place that couldn't be taken away by guilt, by pressure, by manipulation. A safe ending written by someone the family tried to forget. That night at dinner, I watched them talk about garden plans and sunrises and what color to paint the shutters. For the first time, they weren't reminiscing. They were planning. And for the first time, I didn't feel like a bystander in someone else's story. I felt like part of a new one. The days following the cruise were quieter than I had anticipated, almost eerily silent. The usual storm of calls, messages, and urgent pleas from my mother and sister had ceased. It was as if the sudden loss of control over the situation had left them stunned into silence. Or perhaps for the first time, forced them to pause and reflect on the consequences of their actions. Meanwhile, my grandparents blossomed in ways I had never seen before. Grandma's eyes shone with a renewed light, vibrant and hopeful. As if a weight she had carried for decades was finally lifted, Grandpa, who had always been a man of few words and firm resolve, softened. There was a newfound warmth in his smiles, and a willingness to open his heart to others. Their new home in Majorca was not just bricks and mortar. It was a sanctuary, a symbol of freedom and second chances. The beginning of a new chapter at a time in life when many resigned themselves to the ordinary. Grandma, the gentle, unwavering soul who had taught me kindness, patience, and resilience, wrote me heartfelt letters filled with gratitude and love. You didn't just give us a house, she wrote in one, her handwriting delicate but steady. You gave us hope, a chance to dream again, to believe that life can surprise us even at this age. Every word felt like a soothing balm, healing the invisible scars that years of hardship had etched deep within her. Grandpa, the man who showed me the strength in silence and the power of standing tall without shouting, found new purpose in hosting small gatherings for their neighbors. His stories of Navy days, of enduring hardship with quiet dignity, became the glue that held this new community together. Watching him share laughter and memories, I could see the pride in his eyes whenever he mentioned me. No longer as the son tangled in family drama, but as a man who had found his own strength and set boundaries with grace. My mother's story was far more complicated. She reached out once after weeks of silence, her voice tentative, carrying the unmistakable weight of regret and perhaps some recognition of the pain she had caused. "Maybe I was too harsh," she said quietly. "Maybe I didn't see things clearly, but years of manipulation, silent accusations, and a deeply ingrained sense of entitlement do not simply disappear with a few words." The past lingered between us like a shadow, reminding me why I had to protect myself. My sister, the loudest voice of entitlement in our family, sent me a message after a long pause. It was brief and tentative. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much I hurt you." The apology was fragile, almost like a whisper in a storm, but it was a beginning. I chose not to reply immediately, understanding that rebuilding trust requires time. And for now, I had to keep my boundaries firm and my heart guarded. And then there was Marco, the cruise director, my college friend, an unexpected ally in all this. His quiet presence and unwavering support reminded me that sometimes help and kindness come from unexpected places. He never sought thanks or recognition, only smiled when I told him how his simple favor had changed the course of my family's story and given my grandparents a new lease on life. As I stood on the deck, watching the sun dip below the Mediterranean horizon, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. For the first time in years, the relentless pressure of expectation and obligation had been lifted. I was no longer a hostage to family demands or past grievances. But deep inside, I knew there was one more thing I needed to do. One final conversation. One last piece of closure to truly set myself free. The days after the cruise stretched into weeks. And eventually, I found myself sitting across from my mother at a quiet cafe. The kind of place where the noise fades into the background, leaving only the weight of unspoken words. She looked older than I remembered. Lines etched deeper on her face, eyes softer but still guarded. "I've been thinking," she began, slowly stirring her coffee without looking up. "About everything. About us. About what happened." I nodded, waiting. She sighed. "Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I took too much for granted. You weren't just some kid with a wallet. You were." Her voice cracked. And for a moment, vulnerability peeked through the armor she'd worn for so long. "I don't expect things to go back to how they were," she continued. "And I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But I want you to know, I'm sorry." I swallowed a lump that had formed in my throat. Years of pain, resentment, and silence boiled beneath the surface. But I had learned the hardest lesson of all. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself. "I'm not the same person I was," I said quietly. "I've spent so long trying to be everything for everyone. The fixer, the provider, the peacemaker. But I forgot one thing." "What's that?" she asked. "To take care of myself." She reached across the table, hesitating before placing her hand lightly on mine. "That's all I ever wanted," she whispered. In that moment, I realized that love, real love, wasn't about sacrifice until you're empty. It was about boundaries, respect, the courage to say no. The phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from my sister. "I'm proud of you for standing up, for finally being you." I smiled. This was the closure I needed. Not the perfect reunion, not the ideal apology, but a step forward, a new chapter. I looked around the cafe at the ordinary faces, the steaming cups of coffee, the hum of life going on. And I knew this was my life now. No longer defined by what I gave or what they took, but by who I chose to be. Strong, free, whole. The greatest gift I ever gave myself was not a cruise, nor a house, nor a fight one. It was the courage to close one door and open